Today I want to give you some tips from my best students. People often contact me on Instagram saying, how can I improve my speaking? How can I improve my vocabulary? How can I improve my reading? So I thought I'd take note of the things that my most fluent students who I regularly see do and tell them to you. Warning, you might not like it. The main tip you need to know is they study a lot. There is no quick route. There's no injection that you can just like zap vocabulary into your brain. If you're learning a language, like with anything, you need to practice every day if you really do want to be that fluent. But how? How do they study? I've noticed that my best students tell me about articles they have read, books they are reading in English, TV shows they watch in English. Absorbing information in this way is really helpful because it gives the vocabulary more meaning to see it in a situation. So let's delve a little deeper. For example, one student told me he liked reading Harry Potter when he was younger in his native language. He then tried reading it in English. He already knew the story well. He kind of knew what was happening, which helps give a point of reference. And obviously it did bring up a lot of new words, which he would then check in a dictionary. So he would read maybe a few pages, make notes of the words he didn't understand, research these words, and read it again. He would then read it out loud to practice speaking the words. And then in our lessons, if there are any other words that he still wanted further explanation, we would talk about it. I know, that sounds like a long-winded process. Like I said, I didn't tell you it was going to be easy. The same goes for TV. I've spoke to lots of people who have watched very popular TV shows or Netflix shows with their own subtitles. Then perhaps when they're more fluent in English, they watch it with the English subtitles, because obviously in TV, people are speaking relatively naturally.
Yes.
Often there will be expressions that come up, or people will just talk and blend their words. I know I speak too fast sometimes, and that's when I really try and slow it down. When I'm with my friends, not understandable. What we also do in our sessions, as well as highlight any words that might be hard to understand, my best students like to practice using those words in their own sentences. Making this connection of understanding the word and how you would use it yourself is really valuable. Some people can mimic and copy languages, but to really know you understand that word and when to use it in conversation puts you at that higher level. We've talked about the self-inflicted homework that my students do. What about when they're in an actual session, usually on Cambly with me? For a start, the students that are advancing the most always come to the lesson prepared. The best students normally have that magic combination of coming prepared, but also being prepared to improvise at the last minute. For example, if a link hasn't worked, or the other day a good student found a topic that she thought was very interesting by the title, and we realised it was very heavily about politics, and she'd had a long day at work, so we changed to a different topic, which was fine. My best students persist with pronunciation. I appreciate how hard the English language is, more than ever before. Don't beat yourself up if you find pronunciation especially hard. Some students really are hard on themselves when they can't pronounce a word like I can, but I want to assure you, you are not alone. You are still very good at English, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect. English language speakers can still understand you. That being said, students who really want to push themselves do really try with pronunciation. For example, I had a student that struggled with the word watched. Actually, I've had a lot of students who have struggled with the word watched, So if one of them sees this, I hope they know I'm not singling them out. It's a tricky word. My student repeated it several times, and then the next lesson he still purposely found ways to use this word to keep practicing it. Another thing my top students do is mix up different mediums for how they use their Cambly lessons. Sometimes we use articles, or talk about articles from the BBC. We often use the site Engu, which I'm going to show you here. It's a really good site. It has up-to-date articles that are rewritten from recent news. They're in levels from 4 to 10. 10 being proficient, 4 being kind of intermediate beginner. We read the article, there is vocabulary before the article, you can even listen to the vocabulary, and then there are questions, meaning check questions, to check you understood the facts in the article. Then there are discussion questions to talk about your opinions on the article. Then there are further discussion questions to talk about your opinions on the theme of the article. They lead to some really interesting conversations, and the articles are interesting, which instantly makes someone feel more engaged. Some students listen to TED Talks and then come to the lesson and describe what they learned from the TED Talk. This, I would say, is very advanced, and even my students that do that don't do that very often because it takes a lot of extra time. Another thing students use are icebreaker sites. I'm again going to show you just a couple here that I have used in the past. They don't provide articles, but they provide questions about anything, any topic. Would you rather questions can be quite entertaining. Some can be really interesting, even where it just says colour. When you actually go into the lesson, there are some quite interesting questions they've thought up about colour. And finally, Cambly has its own resource library of lessons. There are tons of lessons on there. Some students like the curriculum lessons. They are set out to, again, introduce a topic with some dialogue, and then look at the vocabulary, and then ask some questions about that topic. So very similar to Engu, except you're not looking at an article, it is a more general topic. There are IELTS and other specific test lessons on there. Thanks for watching. To recap my best students' top tips: study a lot, use different mediums like reading, watching TV, YouTube, Netflix, TED Talks to keep it interesting to you. Always come to your Cambly lessons prepared. Be prepared to potentially have to think on the spot. Persist with pronunciation, but don't beat yourself up about it too much. In fact, don't beat yourself up about it at all. I will provide links below to the BBC News site, Engu, Cambly Lesson Library, and a couple of icebreaker conversation sites too. Thank you for watching, and happy chatting, angels!